What's up guys, Scarlet here, hope you're having a good day. Today's video we're going to be talking about some amazing, exciting news, I think at least. This is going to be a leak that has come out, and this leak is regarding a new villain that from my knowledge we have never seen in a video game before, and that is the Sin Eater. But first, if you're new to this channel, I usually cover Spider-Man related scoops, rumors, leaks, confirmations for the games, the movies, the TV shows, you name it, I cover it. I cover all the above for the MCU, DCU, and SSU as well, so if that's what you're interested in, this is your #1 channel for that, so make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on to stay up to date with the latest news. Who do you think would win in a fight? Insomniac, Spider-Man versus Arkham Knight's Batman? Comment down below. Just keep in mind, anything that is not confirmed by official sources like Insomniac Games, Marvel Games, or a Sony executive, or even sources involved with said projects, are just rumors to take with a grain of salt. So like I said guys, this is super exciting because this made my mind jump to multiple different things, and we will get to those multiple different things, but first we're just going to cover specifically the rumor and then go into my thoughts and theories surrounding this rumor. So I seen this on comicbook.com. The original rumor is coming from 4chan, and 4chan can be very hit or miss when it comes to leaks and rumors because you never really know what 4chan, so again, take it with a grain of salt. But comicbook.com did an article talking about the rumor, so let's break it down. They say the rumor has surfaced from an anonymous person who claims to have played the game as a game tester on the PS5. He relayed a bunch of information, but the most notable being a villain who has not been revealed or confirmed yet by Insomniac, Marvel Games, or Sony. This person said on 4chan, got back from playing Spider-Man PS5, looks amazing, can't wait for people to see it. Obviously some hitches since it's freshly past beta phase from what he is assuming. Story has a relic from the original Venom story I've never seen elsewhere. What I'm pretty sure he means by this, I think, is that this game has something notable from the Venom story, like the origin story that hasn't been in any other game. But he goes on to say, early in the game, Peter and Miles are scuffing the city for a dude in a green ski mask who looks a lot like the Sin Eater. Now, if you do not know who the Sin Eater is, it is this guy. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen right here. He's a former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a police detective with a double personality. So with that, he became a serial killer known as the Sin Eater, and Spider-Man eventually stopped him. The Sin Eater is literally just, like I said, a former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then he becomes a police detective, and he basically just has a double-barrel shotgun. That's the simple version of who the Sin Eater is. There's a lot more lore behind it, but like, that's the dumbed down version of who this guy is. And I do believe there's different versions, but this version is the most notable, and let's get into why this version is the most notable and as well why this excites me personally. So he debuted for the first time ever in Peter Parker The Spectacular Spider-Man 107, and notice how at this time when Spider-Man meets the Sin Eater, he has the symbiote. I do not recall if at this point in the comics it was the actual alien or the cloth suit. No, you know what, I'm pretty sure this was the actual symbiote, if I'm not mistaken, because it wasn't until later he ended up taking it off. So now I'm going to talk about Yuri, the police captain in the universe, and you're probably wondering, what does she have to do with this? She's probably going to turn to Wraith, and yes, exactly my point. Let me explain. So obviously in the first game, captain of the NYPD, Yuri, ended up going rogue by the end of the DLC. With that, there isn't a current police captain of the NYPD since Yuri lost her job after going rogue. They obviously need a new police captain, and who better to choose for that role than dewolff. Now, if you don't know who dewolff is, she's an NYPD police detective as a supporting cast role in Spider-Man media. She first debuted in, I believe it was Marvel Team Up. I think it was issue 48. If I'm wrong, comment down below and correct me. But basically, she is a captain of the NYPD who was close with Spider-Man, and she never really showed Spidey how much she cared for him truly because she was always too busy chewing him out or being sarcastic to him, joking around with him. But Pete later found out in a storyline that we'll talk about in a minute that she actually did care for him. She was also in Spider-Man 3 if you played that game. It was this person, and then she also appeared in, I think, the Ultimate Comics, if I'm not mistaken. So now with that, what does dewolff have to do with the Sin Eater? Well, if you haven't read Death of dewolff, I'm about to spoil it, so if you want to go read it and come back, go ahead, or listen to me break it down quickly and simply as possible. In the comics, Spider-Man and dewolff were good friends, and she was eventually killed by the Sin Eater. So in this story, Spider-Man hunts down the person who murdered her, and Spider-Man finds out she was killed in her sleep by a double-barrel shotgun blast, and her badge was stolen, probably as a trophy. Eventually, the Sin Eater starts causing havoc, and it attracts Spider-Man's attention. Spider-Man starts to fight the Sin Eater and notices he has a double-barrel shotgun, and he has a police badge, so it must be him who killed Jean DeWolff, the Sin Eater. The Sin Eater ended up getting away, I think. Spider-Man later goes on to her apartment for clues to see who the Sin Eater is and sees she had newspaper clippings of Spider-Man, a whole envelope full of them, and Peter realized she cared about Spider-Man more than she had let on. Because realistically, why would she be studying why would she be studying Spider-Man? If she were studying him, she would have that at her office at work, but instead it's at her home. That's more like personal. So obviously she felt some way for him or cared for him, you know what I mean? Eventually Sin Eater comes to the Daily Bugle. Peter happens to be there and knocks him out with a typewriter, and they identify Sin Eater as Emil Gregg. Then long story short, through Daredevil they find out Emil Gregg is a copycat, but I think he originally confessed to the police, and eventually Spider-Man got the real Sin Eater. So now here's where this gets interesting. Later on in, I believe it was Amazing Spider-Man 300, the whole Emil confessing to the police, that didn't happen. That was retconned into instead Eddie Brock breaking the story that Emil Gregg was the Sin Eater via newspaper. After Eddie came out with the expose that made the newspapers of Emil Gregg being the Sin Eater, it turned out to be fake news, misleading the police and the public because Spider-Man had caught the real Sin Eater, revealing him to be a police officer whose last name was Carter. I don't recall the first name. I think it was Stan or Stanley. So this then caused Eddie Brock to lose his job and as well his wife, and this is why Eddie Brock hated Spider-Man for ruining his life.
Do you remember? Do you remember what you did to me?
So now obviously Insomniac may not be 100% adapting that exact story from the comic books, and the guy who posted this did say obviously he doesn't know if this story happens in the game, he just doesn't know enough, and he thinks it won't happen that way because Peter is post-Bugle in the game, and I know as of right now he's post-Bugle in the game, but how is he going to pay for anything in the meantime until he gets a full-time job and settles down? He was getting paid by Otto, but then, you know, Otto's in jail now. Peter's jobless, he just got evicted. How is he gonna, you know, pay for anything? He needs to get some quick cash, and he can do that by going back to the Bugle for now, and this could be his first big return to the Daily Bugle, breaking the Sin Eater story after Eddie thought he did, and that sets up Venom for this universe. And Peter could just be doing this Daily Bugle gig until, you know, by the end of the game he gets a full-time job hopefully. And you know what's funny, even when I was looking in the comments of the 4chan leak, people instantly thought, oh, Jean DeWolff, when the guy mentioned Sin Eater, and had my exact thought about Yuri going rogue, so they need a new captain and it being Jean DeWolff. So I do think this is true and could be real. I mean, story-wise, this really makes so much sense, and I think this reveals like a lot of plot details for the game. Obviously though, again, this is not that like this isn't 100% true, but I personally think that this is true and could be real. Like, again, everything makes so much sense now. Like, again, Peter did have the symbiote when he was looking for the person who killed Jean DeWolff. It was rumored that we are going to be able to get the symbiote pretty early on in the game, and Jean DeWolff was killed by the Sin Eater, and apparently, rumoredly, if you will, the Sin Eater is in this game via this apparent game tester. And the death of Jean DeWolff is technically the early like beginning of the Venom origin story. We already know we're getting Venom in the game, so I think we could just be seeing like the death of Jean DeWolff, or maybe she doesn't even have to die, but I think it would be cool to see Jean DeWolff replace Yuri since Yuri has gone rogue. Since Jean DeWolff hasn't been used a lot in Spider-Man adaptations except for like Spider-Man 3 and Ultimate Comics, but like those were both like a decade ago. I hope that if she is in this game, they don't kill her off, and this does seem like they could be going down a very comic book accurate route for the most part, but of course they will have to twist and change some things if this is the case. I'm just super excited about this because I would love to see Jean DeWolff in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and as well the Sin Eater. He's pretty cool. I don't think he's a well-known villain, but he's pretty cool in my opinion, and it would be insane if they're adapting that story of Jean DeWolff death in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Just hopefully it's not her dying, but again, we'll see. One thing that I just actually thought about, what about Kraven? Because well, obviously like we've only heard Kraven, like we don't know, we don't 110% know it's Kraven, but like we assume it's Kraven. It sounds like it's Kraven, right? How does he fit into this story of like Sin Eater, Jean DeWolff, and Venom? That could be part of the twist of this story, but you know, we'll see. Who knows? Overall, I really hope that they are adapting that story though, because that story with Jean DeWolff is amazing. I do think though that she shouldn't die necessarily again, but who else would the Sin Eater kill that's close to Spidey in this universe? He doesn't really have anybody. He just lost Ant-Man in the last game. All he has is Miles and MJ, but hopefully they don't kill those two characters off, because then like it would be like, what the fuck? So now I'm gonna pass it on to you guys. What do you guys think of possibly seeing the Sin Eater debut for the first time in a video game, that being Marvel Spider-Man 2, and as well possibly seeing a second debut in video games of dewolff, and Insomniac possibly adapting the storyline, the death of dewolff? Make sure you comment your opinion down below so I can discuss all of that with you. With that being said, thank you for taking time out of your day to click on this video. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking on my logo in the middle of the screen. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys want more of this type of content. Don't forget to check out my latest video on the left or on the right hand side, a video or a playlist picked for you by YouTube's algorithm. Again, hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time.